I think that is really, really awesome because it tells you how important our brain is. And here is a picture of me, the person that has number 5 on it, that is me. And the picture is taken at the Mars Desert Research Station in Utah. It's a place in Utah where you train for Mars, and people around the world, they are training right now to understand how would it be to live on Mars. There are very many places around the world at this advanced time. So who knows, maybe one day you'll be growing plants there to see if they grow on Mars or even in space. This is a picture of my very first dinner that we had to eat, and it was broccoli. And at the time I didn't like broccoli and I didn't like vegetables. And after I did my Mars training, being in the desert and just eating dried food for 2 weeks and pretending we were on Mars, at the end of the 2 weeks, I was the happiest person in the world to eat vegetables. So that was training for Mars, made me appreciate how good vegetables are. And this is where I went. So I didn't go to Mars, but that place looks like Mars. Instead of saying this is the Mars Desert Research Station, and it's in Utah. So you can see it right there on the bottom of the screen. It says the Mars Desert Research Station MDRS. Now, this is how it looks like. So we were there for about 2 weeks at the time. I've been there 3 times. I organized the 4th expedition, and that tiny little cylinder to the right of the big cylinder, that was the greenhouse where I trained. And here is, hopefully, oh, here we go. This is me, and this is me working in the greenhouse and trying to grow plants. The picture of the plant is a water hyacinth that we used to grow in there to purify the water that we were using for shower. So how do you grow plants on Mars and in space? Right? We are trying to find out. This is what we learned today. This is an image of one of my favorite astronauts, and he has tomatoes. He did not grow these on the International Space Station. They were sent from Earth, and you can see how happy he is holding the tomatoes in his hands. And again, I can tell you, because I know how it felt to eat just dried food for all that long time, it is really, really awesome. Vegetables and fruits are actually really, really amazing, but they're really hard to grow in space. And can you think why? Can you think of how big they are or different conditions that they might grow in? See, all these are challenges that we're trying to work on right now. Here is a picture of a greenhouse in space. This is a greenhouse in space. You see people have syringes to water plants, and it is very, very different than you would have growing anything here on Earth. Even when you grow plants in a pot in your house, that is a little bit different, and it is a step forward to growing plants in space. But you can see you have to be very serious and very well prepared to grow plants in space. This is another picture of an astronaut who she's harvesting red Russian kale and dragon lettuce on a veggie. This is their greenhouse in space. That box that you see in there, it's the greenhouse in space on the International Space Station. It's really tiny, isn't it? You can grow, how many plants can you count? 6 plants, right? 6 pots that you can grow plants in. So you can see we have a lot of work to do if we want to learn how to grow plants properly in space. So she was harvesting the lettuce, and then they ate them with balsamic vinegar, and everybody thought they were the best things ever. This is another picture of more astronauts harvesting. This is the same greenhouse. You can see it there. It's a tiny little square. They were harvesting salad, and they were very, very happy. Here is a picture of So this graph here on Earth, there are very few crops that people all around the world grow. And that was really, really interesting. People grow a lot of sugarcane, we grow a lot of maize, we grow a lot of wheat, of rice. Potatoes are on the fifth place. So around the world, this is the percentage of plants that people grow for food. I'm very happy to see bananas there, kumara. What else do I like? Mangoes. I love mangoes. So I'm very happy that people grow a lot of mangoes around the world. But as you can imagine, these plants take a lot to grow, and some of them are really huge, like mangoes. Mangoes are trees. How would you grow a tree in space? It is so big. It is probably as big as one of the rooms in which the astronauts live. So to learn how to grow food in space, we first start with small food like salads, lettuce, kale. Here you have a picture of a bean. And this image is from Kennedy Space Center, so here on Earth, where they have a facility that mimics how it is to grow plants in space. This is a picture from, it's a drawing actually of how would you grow plants on Mars. And if you have ever seen the movie The Martian, which is one of my favorite movies, but probably you shouldn't see it just yet. You can have to wait a little bit until you see it. It's a really good movie when you grow up. I highly recommend it. He was trying to grow potatoes on Mars because he was stranded there in the movie. And it turns out that they did grow. However, on Mars, we do not have soil. Soil, as we know it, is made of humus. And humus is something that plants decomposing make. But we try to grow plants on what we call regolith. So regolith, if you guys can say regolith, this is how we call the soil on Mars. So the challenge with the future is that Earth in the future will be just like space. First of all, we'll have a lot of people on Earth, and that's really awesome because a lot of people make us even more smart than we are, and everybody can help, okay? But the challenge will be that we won't have too much soil to grow plants. We won't have too much soil to space available for all these foods. So then, even today in the world, people are starving. And all the pictures that you see in here, all those countries that are a little bit colored with the red, these are places where people are starving. By the way, does anybody know how many people live in the world today? I'll tell you, we are about 7.8 billion people. That's a lot of people. But one thing we know the fact that good food for space is actually good food for Earth. If we learn how to make food in a really, really smart way, then we will also be able to solve the world's hunger. So what we do know for sure, so like everything you see here, cordless drill, camera, invisible braces, mattresses, foam mattresses, vacuum, all these technologies, believe it or not, they're developed from space research. So we have all these because we went to space, and all that big list that you have on there that you can have a look at. All these technologies are because we went to space. So probably one of my favorite of these technologies is food safety. Food safety was developed to keep astronauts safe on the International Space Station and in space when they were flying there. And that's why we have packaging now in the supermarket, because of these astronauts. So why wouldn't we have food security, which is keeping people safe and feeding everybody here on Earth properly? Food security might as well be something that we develop with help from technologies that we develop from space. So what do you need to become a space farmer? Well, I don't know if you know about this movie. This is a movie called Star Trek, and in Star Trek, they had what we call replicators. They would make food out of atoms. And maybe this is in a distant future. One of my favorite inventions from Star Trek is the mobile phone. Another inventions that people just imagined in Star Trek was doors. They were doors that were opening by themselves. So like when they first started filming, people were pulling those doors, and now we have doors that open by themselves because people dreamed about these things. So why not? Maybe one day we will have replicators as well. What we have right now are these vertical farming places. So what would you need to be able to do these? I think you would need to be a really good construction engineer, to understand, to be really good at making lights. See, these plants, they have a very special type of light, so we need to understand how plants, what kind of light plants need. You should be able to be a really good builder of things. So not just a farmer, but you should have all these qualities. And my favorite probably is slime. And yes, I said slime. This is algae slime. And because, you know, when we go to space, we will have to think outside the box. What if we cannot carry all those plants up into orbit? It's a really, really high probability we won't. And that's because it costs a lot to put things in orbit. But slime, we can make it there. And these are algae. Apparently, it's really yummy. So I am looking forward to trying it. Some other weird food is meat that we grow in petri dishes. So that's another way of maybe thinking outside the box. What if we won't be able to eat just plants and vegetables, and we will have to have something like a smoothie, something that would be good for our tummy, but good to grow as well because it will take less space. Or GMO, genetically modified organisms. We will have to use genetically modified organisms in the future again, but we will have to use it responsibly, of course, but probably that's another technology. Surely this will be another technology that will help us feed all the 7.8 billion people around the world. We just have to do it in a very smart way. And as I was saying, to be very responsible in what we do. So jobs of the future, I think the sky is yours, and you don't just going to grow plants, but you will have to do engineering, you will have to do mathematics, anything that is related to STEM. And the qualities that you look for in these jobs and in people who do STEM, probably my favorite one is teamwork, problem solving. But you know what? The most amazing quality that you guys can have, and always be courageous and always do this, be curious. Because when you're curious, you want to find out how things work. And this is how I started. I wanted to find out how things work. And when you're curious and you want to find out how they work, then you really take your time to do it. And that's going to be your best friend. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I am very happy to answer them.